Hey, this is Scott once again, and today I want to talk about a topic that's in front of us all around the nation. It's a political topic. I try to stay away from political topics with you in this arena. I just kind of don't feel it's too appropriate. And yet, gosh, there's so many times where what's going on in the political arena, would make for great discussion, either in this format or written. And so today I am going to touch on one because, and irony that I'm using the word touch on for what I'm about to say. It's kind of a pun because it's what I want to talk about is what former Vice President Joe Biden, kind of the situation he's gotten himself into over the last few weeks for touching people the way he's touched them his whole life, according to what he says and according to what a lot of people say. He's come on under a lot of fire for how he's touched women. Although the women themselves who have spoken out have said they don't feel that this was a sexual type of thing or sexual harassment, he just made them feel uncomfortable. And, to listen to Biden explain it, this is who he is. He's been a touchy-feely kind of guy his whole life. And so he's somebody who does put his arms around people. He does put his hands on shoulders and things like that and gets in close. And I get it. There are people like this all around the world, and certainly in our worlds, who touch and tactile feeling is a really big part of their communication style. And it's a shame that it's gotten to a point where these people who mean, according to him, and according to so many, I think, mean it so innocently. It's just their style. I think it's a shame that they've lost their ability to be able to use that human touch in the way that they have. And yet, it's also very important that we have come to this point, because for too long people have taken that concept of touch and gone overboard with it and gone way too far with it. And it has bled into the concept of sexual harassment and worse, sexual assault. And so we are in such an important time right now, in such a strange time, where we're having this debate and this argument about what's sexual assault, what's sexual harassment, and what's just somebody being, touchy-feely, so to speak, tactile. And where does sexual harassment come in? You're just making me feel uncomfortable. We don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. And so some of you might be thinking, well, Scott, what are you talking about this for to us? Because as teachers and coaches, this is such a huge part of who we are and what we do. My gosh, think about it, especially you older coaches, older teachers. Think about how your coaches treated you. And I don't even mean, if it was positive, negative. I mean, how much they were hands-on, so to speak. Sometimes hands-on in a bad way, but, slapping butts and, putting arm around shoulders and all kinds of human touch connections. And it's a sad day when we cannot keep having those types of connections because we've gone too far, or people have gone too far in other realms, and so we have to back off. I ran into this problem quite a few years ago as an athletic director, sitting in an athletic director conference and hearing about basically, do not touch kids. Tell your coaches, do not touch them at all. It's like, gosh, is that really what we've come to? And yet I got where that was coming from. It was a legal expert talking about it. You have to weigh that yourself, coaches. You have to figure out yourself, what can I do? What can't I do? Are we not going to high five kids? Are we not going to fist bump people? How far do you go with the arm around the shoulder? Do you pat them on the butt anymore? I mean, those are all questions that we each have to individually answer about ourselves and decide, where will I go with that? When I coached girls for the years that I did, I handled that differently. I'd sit on the bench and I'd be talking to one and I'd say, okay, go in. And I'd tap her on the knee, tap her on the thigh as I'm, saying, hey, I want you to go in. And afterward, I think, should I have done that? Am I going to be in trouble for that? And it's innocent. It's nothing. And yet I knew the world that we were in. You have to just be so careful with that. And I think this is what Biden has gotten himself into. And it prompts a discussion that we have to have. Where do teachers and coaches, do they draw the line on that? I just find it sad that we even have to draw a line. And yet we do have to draw a line, because when people have gone overboard the other way, that's been really bad. And that's led to the sexual assault and sexual harassment and the problems in that way. Whereas if we don't do any touching, we lose a huge part of the human connection that is so important as you're building relationships, especially for teachers and coaches trying to build relationships with kids. Coaches, you have to be so careful. But I hope that you can find a way to keep connecting and keep working with them. And hopefully there, some form of touch is still a part of it. Because I hate to see the day when we have to be completely hands off and cannot make that kind of human touch as part of our human connection. So it's gone a little bit longer than normal, but I think this is such an important topic. And I think it's something that we're all going to wrestle with. Another pun, I guess. We're all going to deal with in some way, trying to figure out, where do I go with this and where do I back off? And I don't have the answer for you. I just think it's a great debate for us to look at. If you can look in the mirror, if you can lay your head on the pillow at night and say, I did nothing wrong, I'm doing everything that I can to try and make a great connection and keep this positive, that's what you're going to have to live with. And unfortunately, there are some people who are saying, yeah, that's what I thought, and I'm sitting in a jail cell right now, or I'm not coaching anymore because of it, or whatever. Again, it's not a simple answer here. This is a tough discussion. This is a tough situation, but I think it's an important one. And Joe Biden ends up being kind of almost a poster child for us on how are we going to move forward with this in this debate and in this situation. I hope we can move forward in a positive fashion, that's for sure. This is Scott once again. I know, longer one and a little bit different topic, but scroll down, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Where do you stand on the concept of touching your players, touching your kids? How do you do that? How do you handle that? And we'll talk to you again next time.